The mid-1970s were turbulent years for the U.S. Mint. As America celebrated its bicentennial, the Denver Mint worked overtime to produce commemorative coins while maintaining regular circulation coinage. The 1975 D. Roosevelt dime rolled off presses by the millions, just another workhorse of American commerce. But hidden in this sea of ordinary coins was a minting anomaly so subtle that it would take nearly 2 decades for collectors to recognize its significance. The conditions were perfect for errors: aging equipment, overworked technicians, and the pressure to meet unprecedented demand during a time of economic uncertainty. Yet no one at the Denver Mint noticed when a handful of defective dies began striking coins with a peculiar flaw. The discovery came from an unlikely source. Not a professional numismatist, but a part-time collector in Omaha sorting through a $5 bag of mixed-date dimes purchased from his local bank in 1992. As he methodically examined each coin under a 10x loop, one 1975 D specimen made him pause. The obverse looked normal at first glance. Roosevelt's profile, the date, the inscriptions, all present. But something about the mint mark seemed off. The D appeared slightly distorted, as if someone had pressed a finger into wet clay and smeared it. His hands trembled as he rotated the coin under his desk lamp. There, just northwest of the primary mint mark, was a faint but unmistakable secondary, a ghostly duplicate stamped slightly out of alignment. Word of the discovery spread slowly through collector circles. At first, most experts dismissed it as minor machine doubling, a common byproduct of die deterioration with little numismatic value. But as more examples surfaced, a pattern emerged. These weren't random imperfections. They showed consistent doubling in specific areas: the mint mark, parts of the date, and Roosevelt's jawline. By 1996, the numismatic community recognized this as a true double die error, cataloged as FS 101 by variety experts. The revelation sent collectors scrambling to examine every 1975 D dime they could find. Fewer than 24 were confirmed in the first 5 years of searching, suggesting an exceptionally rare variety. The market's response was initially cautious. The first authenticated example sold for $300 in 1998, a respectable sum for what was essentially pocket change. But as the error's rarity became apparent, prices began their meteoric rise. In 2003, a specimen graded MS 65 by Piece GS realized $1,200 at auction. The record shattered again in 2011 when an exceptional example with dramatic doubling brought $3,450. Then came the twist that rewrote the coin's story entirely. A sharp-eyed researcher comparing early and late die state coins noticed something astonishing. The doubling became more pronounced as the die deteriorated. This meant the most extreme examples, showing near separation of design elements, likely came from the very end of the die's life. These terminal die state coins became the holy grail, with one selling privately for over $8,000 in 2019. Though what makes this error so fascinating is its subtlety. Unlike dramatic off-center strikes or missing clad layers, the 1975 D double die requires careful study to appreciate. Under magnification, the doubling appears most prominently on the mint mark and date, with secondary images offset slightly northwest. Roosevelt's jawline shows subtle duplication, giving his profile an almost shadowed appearance. The most dramatic examples exhibit tripling in the motto, "In God We Trust," a feature that sent collectors into a frenzy when discovered. This complexity suggests the die may have been misaligned during multiple hubbings, creating a layered error that becomes more fascinating the closer one looks. The ultimate revelation came when a former Mint employee came forward with production records showing these coins were struck during a single shift on February 17, 1975, a day when the Denver press shop was shorthanded due to a snowstorm. The emergency crew, working with improperly maintained equipment, failed to notice the defective die until nearly 10,000 coins had been struck. Most were likely melted when the error was caught, but an unknown number, perhaps fewer than 100, entered circulation. This explains why so few have surfaced despite decades of searching. Today, the 1975 D double die dime stands as one of the most enigmatic modern coin errors. Its value has stabilized somewhat, with average examples trading between $2,500 to $4,000. but the finest known specimens remain firmly in five-figure territory. For collectors, the allure isn't just monetary. It's the thrill of possibly finding one of the last undiscovered examples. After all, if a coin this rare could sit unnoticed in a bank bag for 17 years, how many more might be waiting in rolls, jars, or that old coffee can of change in your closet? The 1975 D-dime proves that even in the modern era of precision minting, treasures still slip through, and the greatest finds often come when you least expect them. The Denver Mint in 1992 was operating at peak efficiency, its massive coin presses churning out millions of Roosevelt dimes with mechanical precision. This was supposed to be an unremarkable year for coin production. No special commemoratives, no composition changes, just routine minting operations. Yet somewhere in the sterile, fluorescent-lit halls of the facility, a subtle anomaly slipped through quality control. The error wasn't dramatic enough to trigger alarms. No off-center strikes or missing clad layers. But this very subtlety would make it one of the most elusive modern coin varieties. As the coins flowed into circulation, no one noticed that a tiny fraction carried a minting mistake that would later make collectors question everything they knew about modern coin errors. The first known discovery came from an unlikely source, a college student in Dayton, Ohio, sorting through a roll of dimes in 2004. What began as a routine search for silver coins turned extraordinary when one particular 1992 D specimen caught his eye under a desk lamp. The obverse showed Roosevelt's profile like any other dime, but something about the date felt off. The numbers appeared slightly distorted, as if someone had pressed a finger against wet ink. His heartbeat quickened as he rotated the coin, the light catching an almost imperceptible doubling on the 9 and 2 of the date. This wasn't post-mint damage. The duplication was too precise, too uniform. He'd heard rumors about double dies from the early 1990s, but never expected to hold one in his hand. Initial reactions from the collecting community were skeptical. The 1990s were supposed to be the era of advanced minting technology, where such errors were caught before coins left the facility. But as more examples surfaced, each showing identical doubling patterns, the numismatic world had to confront an uncomfortable truth. The Denver Mint's quality control had failed spectacularly, and no one had noticed for over a decade. By 2008, fewer than 30 examples have been authenticated, suggesting an error rate of perhaps 1 in several million coins. The rarity was staggering for a modern issue. Market response followed a pattern familiar to error coin specialists. Initial curiosity giving way to obsession. The first authenticated sale in 2006 brought $250, a respectable sum for what was essentially pocket change. But as the true scarcity became apparent, prices entered uncharted territory. A PCGS-graded MS 65 example sold for $1,200 in 2010, then $3,750 in 2014. The record shattered in 2019 when a spectacular specimen showing extreme doubling realized $8,250 at auction. Then came the revelation that changed everything. Advanced imaging technology revealed these weren't traditional double dies at all, but something far more unusual. The error's physical characteristics defied conventional classification. Under 10x magnification, the doubling appeared most prominently on the date and mint mark, with secondary images offset slightly southeast. But at 30x magnification, a bizarre pattern emerged. The doubling wasn't uniform across the affected elements. Some letters showed partial duplication. Others exhibited what appeared to be stretching of design features. This wasn't the classic double die caused by misaligned hubbing. It was something never before documented in modern minting. The leading theory suggested a die that had been improperly annealed, then subjected to uneven pressure during striking, creating a hybrid error combining characteristics of doubling and die deterioration doubling. The ultimate twist came when a retired Mint employee revealed that 1992 had been a year of experimental die preparation techniques at Denver. Facing budget cuts, technicians had been instructed to extend die life through unorthodox methods. The employee recalled one particular batch of dime dies that developed strange surface characteristics after multiple press runs, dies that were supposedly destroyed when the anomalies were noticed. Yet the coins in collectors' hands proved some had escaped destruction and entered production. This explained why the error appeared on coins struck across several months, yet remained extraordinarily rare. Most of the defective dies had indeed been culled, but not before striking an unknown number of error coins. Today, the 1992 D. Roosevelt dime error stands as one of the most perplexing modern numismatic puzzles. Its value has settled into a curious pattern. Mid-grade examples trade consistently between $2,000 to $3,000, while superb gems remain firmly in five-figure territory. But what truly captivates collectors is the unanswered question: how many more are waiting to be found? Unlike classic rarities that have been thoroughly hunted for decades, this era's modern age means thousands could still sit in rolls, jars, or that forgotten coffee can have changed in your basement. The 1992 D-dime proves that even in our era of computerized precision, the minting process remains human. And where there are humans, there will always be mistakes waiting to be discovered. The story of the 1992 D-dime error isn't just about a minting mistake. It's about how even the most advanced systems can falter, how the smallest details can hold the greatest value, and how patience and perception can turn everyday pocket change into a treasure hunt. For collectors, the thrill isn't just in owning one of these rare coins. It's in the possibility that the next one could be hiding in plain sight, waiting for the right person to notice. In a world where digital transactions are replacing physical currency, the 1992 D-dime serves as a reminder that real-world treasures still exist, if you know where to look. The early 1990s were a time of transition for the U.S. Mint. As the nation emerged from the coin shortages of the late 1980s, production ramped up to meet demand, and quality control occasionally slipped in the process. The Philadelphia Mint, tasked with striking hundreds of millions of Roosevelt dimes annually, operated under immense pressure. The 1991 P-dime, one of the most common coins of its era, was churned out by the millions, destined for cash registers, piggy banks, and coin rolls across America. But hidden among these ordinary dimes was a rare error so subtle that it would take years for even the most eagle-eyed collectors to notice. The first whispers of something unusual began in the mid-2000s, when a collector sorting through a bulk lot of dimes noticed something odd about 1991 P specimen. At first glance, it looked normal: Roosevelt's profile on the obverse, the torch and olive branch on the reverse. But under a magnifying glass, the coin revealed its secret. The mint mark, the tiny P denoting its Philadelphia origin, wasn't where it should have been. Instead of sitting neatly to the right of Roosevelt's neck, it was shifted slightly downward, almost as if it had been stamped twice. The collector's heart raced. This wasn't just a minor misalignment. It was a genuine minting error, one that had gone unnoticed for over a decade. Word of the discovery spread. Other collectors began scrutinizing their 1991 P dimes. Soon, a pattern emerged. Not all coins from that year had the error, but those that did shared the same distinctive trait: a repunched mint mark, or RPM. This occurred when the mint mark was stamped into the die more than once, each strike slightly misaligned from the last. The result was a ghostly doubling effect, visible only under close inspection. The more collectors looked, the more they realized how rare these error dimes truly were. Estimates suggested that only a few thousand, perhaps even just a few hundred, had slipped into circulation before the mint corrected the die. The market's reaction was slow but steady. At first, these error dimes traded for modest premiums, $10 or $20, a nice find but hardly life-changing. But as their rarity became apparent, prices began to climb. By 2010, a well-preserved example sold for $100. By 2015, that figure had doubled. Then, in 2018, a collector made a startling discovery. Not all 1991 PRPM dimes were created equal. Some showed only a slight doubling, while others displayed dramatic, unmistakable shifts in the mint mark's position. The most extreme examples, with clear, bold doubling, became the Holy Grail. One such coin, graded MS-65 by a top-tier certification service, sold at auction for over $1,000. The error's physical characteristics were subtle but unmistakable to trained eyes. The most prominent examples showed a distinct secondary P below or to the side of the primary mint mark, a telltale sign of a die that had been reused without proper polishing. On lesser examples, the doubling was fainter, requiring magnification to spot. Unlike flashy errors like off-center strikes or broad strikes, this mistake was easy to overlook, which made its discovery all the more thrilling for collectors. Then came the twist that sent the numismatic world into a frenzy. A sharp-eyed researcher, cross-referencing mint production records, uncovered something astonishing. The 1991 PRPM error wasn't random. It was tied to a specific batch of dies used in early 1991, a batch that had been pulled from production after just a few weeks due to quality concerns. This meant the error dimes weren't just rare. They were a snapshot of a precise moment in mint history, a fleeting mistake caught and corrected almost as quickly as it appeared. Even more intriguing, the researcher found evidence that a handful of these dies might have been used again later in the year, creating a second, even rarer wave of errors. Today, the 1991 PRPM Roosevelt dime occupies a unique place in coin collecting. It's not the most famous error, nor the most valuable, but its story resonates with collectors who love the thrill of the hunt. Prices have stabilized somewhat, with most examples trading between $200 and $500, but the most dramatic RPMs still command four-figure sums. And for those who dream of finding one in the wild, the allure is undeniable. After all, millions of these dimes are still out there, hiding in rolls, jars, and forgotten collections. The 1991 PRPM dime is more than just a mistake. It's a reminder that even the most ordinary objects can hold extraordinary secrets. For collectors, the joy isn't just in the value. It's in the moment of discovery, the sudden realization that you're holding something special. And who knows? The next time you get a dime and change, it might just be one of these hidden treasures.